both have.
Legends, welcome. This is the Gym Boss podcast. I'm Jimmy. I'm your host as always. I got an extremely good looking gentleman to my left here. If you're on Facebook Live, if you're on the podcast, I'll introduce him in a minute. But as always, if you want more leads, you want more clients, and you want to be able to grow your brand all at the same time, go on over to iwantgymleads.com. That's where you can go over there. You can see I've recorded a little video for you. And if you like what you see and you're serious about growing, schedule a time to talk so we can have a chat to see about how we can actually do that for you. But today I have a special guest. I said Blair. Little backstory on Blair. He and I actually, you guys might know that we that I worked at McDonald's way back in the day. So did Blair, but we know each other from high school. Now he's here on the Gold Coast as well. We splintered off into different industries, which is why I've got him here. He actually created his own business called Save, Make, Protect, where on today's episode, you can discover how you can save, make, protect your money, your assets, and your lifestyle with this gentleman over here, because there's two things in life that we usually neglect. Most people, right? Which is one half of it is why we're in business as a gym owner, a fitness business owner, and that is health. People usually neglect that, which the personal training and fitness industry is thriving. And the other one is finances. And so I know most gym owners are hustling, grinding, selling, changing people's lives, and then tracking data on the client's weight, nutrition, everything like that. But then when it comes to finance and tax time, stuff is like just push it in the corner, sweep it on the rug, and hope that big mess just doesn't get any messier, and you'll sort of deal with it later. Which is where Blair comes into it. So Blair, my man.
What's up?
Hey.
Good to see you again.
Good to have you, dude. So I'm just going to give you the mic, Blair. Let's just, obviously I've done a little intro, but let's fill in the gaps a little bit more. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you created the business in the first place.
Oh, that's a big question. I suppose for the best part of 10 years, I was working in the investment realm. So I was busy trying to make people money. But what I came to realize is that although they're buying investments and they're doing the right thing, trying to protect their retirement and making sure they have enough money to retire comfortably, it's only good having those types of things if you have no debt. And the big problem there is that people were getting to retirement, but they still had home loans, they still had investment loans, they still had all this other debt. And so when it came to them having to retire, when they thought they were going to have this large nest egg, after they paid back all the loans, all of a sudden it was minimal. So they really didn't achieve anything out of it. So what I started to realize, and it was a term I coined some time ago, is most people try to make money before they realize saving money does both. So what I do is I use my skill sets and experience to show people how to pay off home loans in like 10 years, how to reduce their tax by $5, $10, $15, $20,000, and just to ensure that when they get to retirement, they're actually going to have some money to enjoy what they've worked hard for. Like I said, the grind and hustle.
Yeah. So does this sort of apply? I'm just thinking in the fitness realm as well. Like debt can be something that we have if you bought equipment. Like that's usually the biggest thing that we have there. Do you deal with obviously a lot of small business owners as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a good half of my clientele are small business owners. And I suppose when it comes down to finances, you need to be on point. I mean, good question for you, right? You go to the gym. How often do you go to the gym?
Like 5-6 days.
How often? Like for how long?
Like 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
When was the last time you spent 45 minutes looking at your financials? And I'm not talking about your business financials. I mean, the way you spend your money in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, like hardly ever.
When your bills come in, when you know exactly you've got enough money, when to pay the bills. Like doing a budget, for instance. When was the last time you spent 45 minutes on that?
Yeah, not many. Not many right? times, yeah.
Because the good thing about personal trainers is that they keep you accountable. They coach you. They make sure that you've got the right nutrition and all that type of stuff, yeah? Whereas when it comes to the finance side of things, most people try to do it themselves. And that's when, we might be earning decent money. We might have a good job, whatever it may be. And so we're paying our bills on time, but our money's up here, yet our savings are way down here. Why is that? It's because we're not keeping track of everything that we're spending our money on. And that's when we can fall into trouble. So when it comes to being a business owner, you really need to be mindful of the money that you're spending, right? Because one week we're on top of the world and we're all of a sudden we're earning all this money. And then the next week we've got no clients and what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills?
Mate, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. That's a familiar story, especially when you're first starting out. It's like when you're killing it, you're loving life. You're bowling, you go out and you're going to dinners and things like that. And that's usually like what happens, right? Mm-hmm. The emotional roller coaster of the bank balance.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And I suppose Similar to personal training, yeah. You mentioned it before. We usually neglect health and we usually neglect our finances. I, for the longest time, have had my finances on track. It's only recently that I started to get my health back on track. And one of the things that I used to complain about was time and money. I didn't have time to go to the gym. I didn't have time to look after my health. Or for you guys as personal trainers is, you know that you need to charge a fee for them to use your services. And it's just about changing that mindset for your clients to say to you, well, you're prepared to go out and spend $150, $200 on a night out with your friends, get blasted and probably ruin everything that you've done for your health, but you're not prepared to give me $50 or $100 a week to be able to improve your fitness and improve your health, etc. It's just about changing that mentality. And it's the same for me. I charge a fee for the services that I provide. And it's hard to, for people to understand, how are you going to charge me money or I'm going to give away more money to save more money? So it's about me also changing people's mindsets.
Yeah, that's a good, you should do sales for gyms because that's exactly because that's exactly what we do. We sit down and we figure out their lifestyle factors, and then you can identify and go, hey, look, how much, especially the young single guys, if they're 30 or under, and then you're like, hey, how often do you go out? Oh, Friday night, Saturday night? That's easy, $200 a night. And you go, no, brag. They go, easy. Yeah. So you spend $400 a week on booze and going out. Yeah. Well, man, I'm only asking for $50 or $100 a week here to completely change your life. How about you just go out one night a week instead of two, and then you come and spend the rest with us, and then we can actually improve you. And so that's great.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. It's the same as like you've had a night before where you get home, you wake up shocking the next day, you look inside your wallet and there's no money left, but you know you took out $200, yeah? But then you go back and try to figure out, what type of drinks did I drink? How many drinks? Did I meet a girl? Did I meet a guy? Whatever it may be. Did I eat dinner? Whatever it may be, yeah? The same thing goes for me. When I'm trying to do a budget for someone, if they're going to a personal trainer, I want to include that stuff. If they want to go out to tea, or if they want to go out drinking, whatever their lifestyle includes, you want to be able to budget for all of that type of stuff as well, yeah? But what you want to be able to do is identify how much money we're spending on it. So that way, if you go out and you spend it, you've budgeted for it. So when you open that wallet again, you know exactly how much money is still going to be left in it. Not, oh my God, what have I spent all my money on?
Yeah, so, okay, this is cool because this is getting to a good spot. So we're looking at, obviously, this is personal finances. We've got the business as well, business finances. And usually what happens as a business owner, as you probably see it every day of the week, is that the business owner usually pays himself the least or herself the least because everything's going back to staff, to, leasing equipment, lease at the rent of the space where you're at. And like with all these different elements going on, where's a good place to start?
First of all, don't do your own tax. If you're doing your own tax, don't do that. Second of all, find a good accountant. Now, in saying that, there's a load of different accountants as there are a load of different finance people like myself, yeah, brokers, whatever it may be. A good accountant, in my opinion, is proactive, whereas most accountants are reactive. So what that'll mean is you'll go out and do everything that you would buy, sell, all the stuff that you need to operate your business. And then at the end of the year or quarterly, depending on how often you see your accountant, that's when they'll say, okay, based on what you've done, this is what we're going to actually claim or do whatever it needs to be done. A proactive accountant is the one that actually says, you should go and do this first. So before you go and do something, you have it in your mindset to know, if I go to do this, it's going to equal this. So go find yourself a proactive accountant. If you don't know of any, I'm sure Jimmy could refer you to one. I can certainly do it as well. But definitely a proactive accountant. So that way you know exactly where your money's going before you go and spend it.
Yes. And I didn't mention this at the start, but take this as like education. However, make sure before you do anything, I'm not a licensed finance guy or anything like that. So this show is not about that. This is just to help trigger this train of thought to help you guys actually seek out the right advice later on. So no liability on our part here. This is simply just like two guys chatting here that will help you then go seek the professional help that you might need to actually guide you into the direction of where you need to go. But anyways, now that's aside. So
I am finance qualified, by the way, so I can talk about something.
Exactly.
But I'm not an accountant. A good thing is, and you would have used this term before, a jack of all trades is a master of none. Yep. I certainly don't presume to know everything, but I surround myself with exceptional professionals that are. So I'm not an accountant, but I have a very good accountant that I refer 99% of my clients to. I'm not a financial planner. I'm finance qualified, mortgage broking, and I'm also property licensed and qualified as well. So I specialize in the mortgage broking or getting people loans, etc., and also property as well. But when it comes to insurances, superannuation, and so forth, you need a good financial planner for that. So it's about surrounding yourself, the same as you. A lot of personal trainers will be really good in the gym, but they might not be a proper, like a specialized dietitian. But they most likely would know someone that they can refer their clients to make sure they get the right, not just nutrition, but also the right diet, or whatever it might be as well.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you got the right people.
That is common. Like there are a lot of partnerships like that where the gym will then have like maybe an in-house nutritionist, or they have somebody that they refer out to specialist stuff like that. Same as like a physio. There's only so much stuff that you can do in the gym with the client until you need to go see a proper physio. And that's what, similar scenario like what you're saying here.
That's right.
You've got your specialists that you refer out to that are kind of part of your team. And I think to maybe put words in your mouth here, but this is the way I like to look at it, is having a good bookkeeper is critical. It's like having a personal trainer in the gym. If you have a business, you got to have a bookkeeper. So if you can try and do it yourself, but it's much better having a good bookkeeper, having a good accountant. Those are probably like the first two things that I would go have a look at, because then these guys actually become part of your team. That's where you got to look at it. You're building like your Avengers superhero team, where you're like helping you get the best result possible for your business and for your finances. Because yes, we are in business to help people change their lives, and we like as people in the gym and fitness game, we love to focus on that side of things, the people and how we're changing people's lives and improving their lives. But if it's not improving your life and you're working year after year after year after year just to pay taxes and just to scrape and get by, like it can wear you down. So if you have your Avengers superhero team of like all your accountants and financial planners and everything that you need to help keep it all tight, like it's not an expense, it's an investment that will actually serve you in the long run.
And just on that, because I often find a lot of self-employed people will try and just everyday mums and dads, whoever they may be, they often try to do this stuff on their own. They often try to do all their finances, try and work their budget themselves, find their own home loan, whatever it may be. But rattle off a few like proper, like say bodybuilders. Who's it? Do you know a good one of your faves?
I don't know anybody current. I think let's just say Ronnie Coleman. He's the king.
Right, Ronnie Coleman. I actually know who that is, right? Yeah. Does he do all his stuff himself? Absolutely not. He's one of the most elite people that was, right? But at the same token, he still had a coach. He still had a training partner. He still had a nutritionist. He might have put all the stuff in his body himself, but he didn't try and do that himself. So even the people at the most elite of their game will still have a coach, a mentor, somebody else that will help them in other parts of their life to ensure that they are the best that they possibly can be. And unfortunately, once again, when it comes to health and finance, most people try to do it themselves.
Yeah, and the reason why though?
Time and money, usually.
Exactly. And so you think that you're saving money. I'll tell a personal example here. I got Xero, the accounting software. A lot of people probably using that or something similar. And so when I first got that, I was like, great, okay. I had a quick little run through and I'm like, I'm tech savvy. I've got this down. Then when it came to tax time, it took my bookkeeper nearly this was probably about a year or two of having Xero myself. Then I thought, you know what, I need to upgrade and get my bookkeeper, get my accountant up to speed. And it took my bookkeeper like 6 months to fix everything.
Yep.
Because I had messed it up royally and I thought I was doing it fine. But that's the difference. As you guys know, you're a professional in your business. People come to you for your advice, for your support, and for your education that you've given yourself. And then, you can prescribe like a doctor the best course of action or the prescription, the medicine, right? That's the same with the finance stuff. Like it's not an expense. Like that's the hardest thing for a small business owner to understand. Like this stuff is not an expense. It's something that will save you in the long run. A lot of heartache, especially with the tax office, no matter what country you're in, because that's the biggest thing for everybody is to make sure that your taxes and finance for the business are in order, but then also that your personal stuff.
Well, just on that personal stuff, if any of you are used to using Xero, the software platform that my clients use for their personal and somewhat their business as well, just depends how it's set up. It's called My Prosperity. It is the king of software when it comes to budgeting, asset management, cash flow analysis, providing detailed reports, similar to what Xero will do for you in your business. But like any software, and Jimmy hit it on the nail, the software is only as good as the user. So if you're not inputting the right data, if you don't structure it correctly, set it up appropriately, etc., it's going to fall flat. And that's why some people will blame the software, saying it's not doing what it's doing, and fall off it and say it's useless if it's not done correctly. And I suppose that is the case with a lot of different things in life.
Yeah, it's like saying a diet doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't do it right. You didn't follow it. Yeah.
You listen to the likes of like your Ray Kerwin or whoever the guy gurus are, and they will say, if you follow this process, it will work 100%. And I often use the personal trainer analogy with my clients. I said, you got two people. How many people do you know who own a gym membership, but don't go and don't see the results? And then they blame the gym or time, I didn't have time to go or whatever it may be, yeah? But then you got another person who has a personal trainer, and that personal trainer is calling them before they come in, making sure you better go out of bed. Then when they're there, they're coaching, they're mentoring, they're keeping them accountable, they're watching their performance, they're making sure they're doing it right, all that type of stuff. Who is going to ultimately have the best results? The personal trainer, yeah?
Of course.
And I'm the same in the finance realm. If you have somebody there that is keeping you accountable, encouraging you as well, not just being the nasty asshole, but making sure that you've got the right nutrition, you've got the right software, you've got the right people behind you to make sure that you're staying on task, you're always going to have a better result. In fact, I've seen people did a review for one of my clients recently. They paid $45,000 off their home loan in 1 year. That's not inclusive of interest. That's principal only.
Wow.
And interest, sorry. Yeah. So, 45 grand in 1 year. Now, you might think that they earn a lot of money. They're a mum and dad couple who only earned $110,000 a year. So, they've still got to pay tax on that money. They've got one kid as well, and they still manage to pay off 45 grand off their home loan. I mean, most people will take, 3 to 4 years to pay off that amount of dollars off their home loan. So it's one of those things where when you have somebody, not being big brother, but is there to help you, support, mentor, and coach you, it makes a massive difference.
Well, it speeds up the process, right? As you said, it's 3-4 times you're saving time, 4. What's that? I can't percentage. Whatever. Yeah.
I hear you. That's why I'm in finance and you're in PT. Right? You're in business.
Oh, God. But anyways, let's brush that aside. But okay, now let's go step 2 to this. Let's say, okay, gym owner, Barry, we'll call him, or Mary, they've gone and got their bookkeeper, they've gone and got their accountant.
Awesome.
Now what?
Okay, so the ultimate, besides asking clients, what their goals are, similar to a PT, you're going to sit down with them, ask, okay, what do you want to achieve? Those types of questions. Yeah. Besides all of that, the very first question I would ask is, have you done a budget?
And a personal
budget, business budget, personal budget, it doesn't matter, because when it comes to they
should be separate, right?
They should be separate. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you should do a business budget, which most people probably do.
They usually have.
Yeah, because you have to. And then, but the personal stuff usually gets brushed aside.
Well, like what you said, when you're in business, a lot of business owners will pay themselves, a minimal amount of money. Most of that money is
peanuts,
because it's going back into the business. You're trying to grow your brand, yourself, whatever it may be. So in that respect, but you still need to pay yourself, because you still need to live. Now, good thing about being in business is, a lot of us will write off certain things that we're allowed to write off. Those items that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we're still going to have to pay ourselves some amount of money to, say, pay for our mortgage or our rent or our food or whatever it may be.
Just normal living stuff.
Yeah, that's right. So it's interesting, because I often have people say, yeah, I've done a budget. And I go, okay, so the next step after that is I go, well, let's have a look at your money. So, and this can be the same for your business as well. I earn this much money, I pay this much tax. So I gotta get my finger in. So I earn this much money, I pay this much tax, and then I'll have this much money to operate my business or, run my life, through my normal personal income. So when I sit down with clients and I go, okay, well, we're earning this, we pay this much tax, and we're left with this much money left over. I say, okay, we've got to pay for our liabilities, so our loans, whatever it may be, and we lose this much off. And then we've got this much left. Then we've got to live. So if we've done a budget with, we've got groceries, we've got food, fuel, phone, internet, whatever we've got to pay for, right? And we've got this much left over. I go, okay, you've done a budget. Well, we've still got this much left over, and that, whatever sum of money. Mystery money, right? And that's a great term, mystery money, because for a lot of my clients, the average is about $20,000 to $30,000 that they should have left over. And I say, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, Where's the 20, 30,000 that's sitting in your bank? Or how often have you been budgeting for? Oh, the last 10 years. So what you're telling me is you should have $200,000, $300,000 left over if you do a budget. Because if you do a budget, you should have that money left over. And if you have $200,000, $300,000 left over, that could be paying off your home loan. That could be opening that new gym. That could be buying that new equipment that you've had for the last 5, 10 years and you know you should upgrade it. You know, and so this is why doing a budget, there are two types of budgets as well.
I was going to say, most people, when they hear the word budget, they go, and I'm like, I was one of those people. Lucky for me, you guys need to go get yourselves a Katie, a Mrs. Halley, because she has been amazing. Because before, when I was just running the thing by myself, it was a mess. So like, I'm a good front of house with the business, the sales, the marketing, that. And the detail and the organization, Katie's amazing. So we've, as a husband-wife team, we're amazing. So our budgeting stuff now, she lives on it. We've got a similar thing to this, My Prosperity, where she forecasts like everything that's coming up for the person, for the family and everything like that. And she knows if I've got a dentist, which I had to go to this week, it was like $300. Don't worry, it's in the budget. It's all there. We know it's coming
Hallelujah.
up. Yeah, I know. It's all there.
You didn't have to use the credit card, did you?
No, we don't have one.
They're even better.
We don't have a personal credit card because it took us a while to get there. And I'd love for her to be in the room actually talking about this because she knows more of the backstory behind it. But we have the budget now, and I sort of hijacked your combo a little bit there. But I think, where do you start with the budget? Because now you said, okay, budget is where you start. People's minds are probably thinking how.
All right. So there's a way in which that I structure my clients' budgets, which is ultimately, and I'll say this down the camera, is the best possible way that you can budget. Absolutely, hands down. Anybody out there that may be listening, watching, if you want to
get a pen and paper ready, people.
Well, it can't be done on camera right now, but I will refer you to the links. You can head over to my Facebook page, type in Save, Make, Protect, head to the page, go to the video playlist, and there's a budgeting section. Don't crucify me on those videos because when I first did them, it was when I was first in front of a camera and I was like, it's crazy. But I've been doing the same way budgeting for many of years. So there's two ways to split up. So first of all, when most people do a budget, they'll do it and they'll convolute it all together. Yeah. So it's like, this is my big spreadsheet. So I keep forgetting the camera. This is my big spreadsheet. Everything's in there. I need to come up with 40 grand a year. So I know I'm safe because I earn enough money. The way we split up the budget is between a weekly budget and a monthly living expenses. So your weekly budget is more discretionary, whereas your monthly living expenses are the stuff that you have to pay for all the time. So like your phone, your internet, your rates, your insurances, educational fees, things that are constant and are usually the same
like
amounts of money.
Electricity bills. Or,
yeah, right. Yeah, so they're usually constant and they're usually the same figures of money. All right, that's an easy one. The weekly budget, however, is more of your discretionary expenditure. So we're talking about groceries, food and fuel, lunches and dinners. We've also got the big one also is like coffees as well, which is another big one. Entertainment, miscellaneous, alcohol and cigarettes is another big one.
Which none of you should be doing.
None of us should be doing. I don't smoke anymore, Jimmy, but I vape. There's a big conversation about that. We won't go into it. But either way, the cost saving on that alone was ridiculous just by switching from cigarettes. And my health is much better as well, right? But having that when you do the weekly budget, the reason why I split them up also is because depending on your financial position will also depend on what cash flow structures you can implement as well. So if you have a home loan already and if you have the appropriate home loans, then you can start structuring your cash flows where no matter where your money is, whether you're spending it on a weekly basis or if you're holding your money in the monthly account, we're saving interest on our home loans. So you can start implementing cash flow structures, which is further steps to be able to save more money along the way as well. Cool. If you're saving for your first home loan, let's just say, for instance, then there's ways in which you can maximize your saving and the interest compounded that you're saving as well.
I think I might be speaking for a lot of people here, but I think a lot of people might be that are listening in the realm of like, okay, I'm yet to purchase because they're in the fitness game. Maybe it's their first foray into being their own business, or it's 50-50 with my clients that I have at the moment. So some are homeowners, some aren't. But let's talk to the people that aren't.
Yep.
And they want to start saving for that home loan. Mm-hmm. Like the budget is where you start, obviously.
100%. 100% the budget is where you start because it's really easy mathematical equation, yeah? So I earn this amount of money, I pay this amount of tax, and I've got a net figure left over, yeah? Whatever liabilities that I have left over, I have to pay for on a regular basis. So they're treated like a bill, like normal. And then you have to live. So you've got to buy all your food, your fuels, you've got to do all the normal types of stuff. If you haven't done a budget, you have no idea what is going to be left over as surplus. But there's two reasons why we do the budget straight up. And that's because if you do a budget and you do that mathematical calculation, so you got your net amount of money that you have left over, if your liabilities and what you've budgeted for just to live, yeah, if they outweigh what you're earning, then you're in a severe amount of trouble. And that might be the reason why you're having to rely on credit cards, or you're using afterpay services, or you're getting personal loans, or using your overdraft, is because you don't actually know how much money you need to live.
Yes.
But if you do the budget, and there's surplus, that's when you know, okay, well, I've got 5, I've got 10, I've got 20, whatever the amount of money is left over. And so that way, then you can start to forecast to say, hey, well, I could actually save 20 grand a year if I stick to the budget. Now, just on that, you said before, because we did kind of go off track. Most people think, oh, budget, don't like it.
Yeah.
Budget doesn't mean tighten your belt. Budget means include everything you spend your money on. So if you want to go out to dinner once a week, twice a week, that is part of the budget. If you want to go on a 5 grand holiday each year, that is part of your budget. Now, so take that if you go to my Facebook.
I think the holiday thing is something big that a lot of business owners want as well, because we want to be able to write our own rules. We want to be able to take a holiday when we want, not have to ask for permission from somebody.
Because a lot of people feel that they're going to miss out if you're going to budget, which is incorrect. That is a fallacy. If you budget for the things that are inside of your life, then again, you go back to that simple equation. You've got your net figure. And if I've included everything and I still have money left over, sweet, then I can start forecasting. I don't have to cut down my lifestyle. I'm still going to live the life that I am, and I'm still going to have money left over. So it might take you 1, 2, 3, however many years to be able to save for that deposit, but at least you're on track to saving for your deposit.
Yeah.
If, however, your budget outweighs, if your budget and liabilities and all that type of stuff outweighs how much you're earning, then you need to start to seriously think about, do I go out once a week or twice a week? Do I need to buy that top shelf thing versus, do I have to buy the prime rib, or do I have to start buying something that is slightly less? And that's when people start to realize, and that's what's going to bring it back to the analogy of your personal training. If you're looking at nutrition, and let's say you write down everything, wow, I've had 15,000 calories or kilojoule, whatever the number is, right? Calories is not kilojoule, calories. Right? If I have 15,000, I've got to go down to 8,000. Unless you write that all down and you go, the only way I'm going to lose weight or do whatever my goal is that I've got to go from 15,000 down to 8,000, but I didn't realize how many calories I'm putting into my body. Yeah,
that's it. I think on an emotional level, like what this is clarity. You're getting clarity, and I know a lot of people have this weird. I don't know what the word is, but like they're funny around with money when it comes to it. So they try and brush it to the side. But
head in the sand.
Yeah, and so there's almost anxiety is the word I'm looking for. They maybe have like this anxiety about money, and everything's like every time a money decision comes up, or the opposite, they're real complacent. They're like, yeah, no worries, man, I got heaps, and that's usually the one or two camps. But then once you do this, I know personally when Katie and I did our budget, and now we stick to that, it's just like, you can breathe easy. There's clarity, and you've got confidence and certainty in the decisions that you make in your day-to-day or your whatever. Like, we've budgeted for absolutely everything, and it's just like, I know my limit of how much I can do, like how many times I can go out for breakfast, or how many, you know what I mean? And it's like with confidence, not going like, oh, should I be doing this one? Or I don't know.
You can use this one for yourself, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And anybody listening can use this as well. I always talk about when it comes to budget, first of all, you need to understand, then you need to structure it appropriately, and then you need to control it. Yeah,
like it. So understand
where you're. So if I'm sitting with my PT, and you need to understand where I'm at and what I'm doing and what I'm trying to achieve, right? Then you have to structure me the right plan as to what I need to do. The control part is the hardest part by far, because you might have done all those first two steps. So I understand my budget, what I need to, how much money I need, and what I'm spending my money on. Then I'm going to structure it the appropriate way. So that might be where the money's going and where it needs to, where cash flow structures and so forth. But controlling that budget is what controlling me, making sure that I get up and actually go to the gym, or get up and go to the park, or get up and actually physically do it. And that is by far the hardest part.
That's the human behavior.
Correct, because the next thing that comes into play is, I've got a cheeky $5,000 sitting in my account, which you haven't had because you never used to budget or save. And then you go, oh, I might just go away and spend that extra money on something I don't need. So it's like, I call it excess spending. I don't know, like, or like for me, it's like, I worked really hard today. I deserve a cheeseburger.
Treat myself.
Yeah, man.
Treat myself.
Control is the hardest part that comes to any part of finance or health, right? So
totally.
So understand structure and control. So control is why I need a PT, because I need them to be on my case constantly. So literally when I leave, I'm not a big fast food eater, but I do like wholesome big foods. And the last thing that he will say to me when I leave is, don't you go home and eat that massive lasagna that I know you've got sitting in the fridge. And then I get home and then literally that massive lasagna sitting in my fridge that I have to throw away now because it's been too long. And in my brain it's like, don't you eat that? You can't eat that. You know why you worked hard. And so it's just that little voice in my brain that if I didn't have him say that, most likely I'm going to go home, put on Netflix and smash that whole thing.
Of course, and go back for seconds.
Yeah. There's never any seconds. Don't do things in halves.
So I really like that. It's to understand structure and control.
And that's also for business as well, 100%.
Oh, of course. And I think talking about the control piece, we know how to do it in the fitness game. What's some things like, obviously there's some paid ways that people can do it, like seeking someone out like yourself. What's the different levels of control?
Sure. Well, really, it comes down to the individual. It comes down to you, yeah? Because you can do the numbers, you figure out what you're earning, you take the taxes off, you've got a net figure of money, you've hopefully done your budget correctly.
And let me chime in here. This is the exact same thing for when you're setting goals. People can write goals, they can set the plans out and stuff like that, but do you follow through?
That's exactly right. It has to come down to the individual. You can't make me get out of bed to go to the gym. You can't make
I could.
me, but
I'm coming out, drag you out of bed.
Mate,
but
drag this 100 kilo. I want to see it. It'll be a workout for today. But at the same token, it's like control is, it is a mental shift. So I'll give you a classic example. For my control, where it came down to is the interest savings. So when I looked at my statement one, so go back many years ago when I first had my home loan statement, and I'm looking at it. And so when I learned all this stuff many moons ago, I remember I had a real hard-ass kind of finance guy who taught me a lot. He's still a mentor of mine to this day. And I remember him saying to me, he goes, I couldn't get it. I grew up in farming life. Finance was not my thing. He's telling me to use a credit card back then. Things have changed. But regardless, he just said, just do this and I promise you, right? The one good thing I had was saving money because we were farmers, yeah? So you always had to hold on to your biscuits, So budgeting was good for me. I understood that. But where the penny dropped for me and where my mental attitude changed was when I saw that I'd save $15,000 in interest, and I just went, holy moly, $15,000, that's well better off in my pocket than it is the bank's.
Oh, yeah, totally.
For then, obviously my life changed and I had to get back on the train of saving again for buying a house, right? So it was a case of all of a sudden you see 5,000, then you see 10, 20, and you start to see these savings in the bank. You have to start deciding, and you would say this to your clients as well, I'm sure, and all the people listening, is that you have to have that moment where you personally need to make that decision as to what do I want in life more? Do I want to spend that $5,000 and go on a ridiculous holiday, or do I want a house for my family and build security? So ultimately, it comes up down to the individual. You can have other people saying you need to save. You can have an app telling you exactly what you're doing. You can have all that, but ultimately, it comes down to me. So. To the individual. So really what I've done, and I'm sure you do this, and I'm sure your listeners do too, is that you need to change the mindset of the person. And I feel probably for the last 3 years where I've really been focusing on my clients with budgeting, cash flows. Yeah, I want you to invest. I want to get you to the point where you're buying investment properties or buying shares or whatever it may be to build wealth for the future. But you need to focus on the here and now. What can you do right now to start making money? As I said, the term I coined, most people try to make money before they realize saving money does both.
Because how many people have, I'm sure you put your hand up while you're driving your car or listen to this while you're on the treadmill or whatever, right? But you could probably put your hand up and know that every time you've made more money, you think, okay, I've got to make more money. And that's true. You make more money is great, but then when you make more money, you still have the same left over when you had, even though you made $5,000 more this month, Like, where'd that $5,000 go?
For a lot of, and that's the mental shift. Like most people won't say, I've earned more money, I'm going to put that away, I'm going to pay off a debt. It's like, I've earned that extra money. I've done a budget, let's say, I've earned extra money. My money's still going to pay my budget, but I've still got this left over, so I'm free to spend that. That's a vicious cycle as well, because then all of a sudden, a piece of equipment drops out or something happens to you, and all of a sudden that money that you could have had to fix that problem isn't there anymore. And guess what? I've got to use my credit card, or I've got to use my overdraft, or whatever it may be. So discipline, control in your world is probably discipline. You got to have, and even in finance, you got to have that discipline. Otherwise, it's all going to fall apart. But again, most people try to do these things themselves. Again, if you have a personal trainer, or if you have somebody who just has a gym membership, ultimately the person who has the personal trainer is going to build that discipline quicker. They're going to understand where they're at. They're going to have a structured approach. And therefore, when they'll see benefits sooner. And because of that, control will come easier.
Awesome. I like that. So I'm just going to recap again. So we've got sort of the flow and the process. So if you feel like it's all in a shambles, first of all, get a good accountant, bookkeeper, financial planner. They're like, is that right?
Yes and no, absolutely. You need all those people in your life. I often say because I'm not a financial planner, there's enough compliance in mortgage broking and property. I don't want to go do that as well. But financial planners, respect to any of my colleagues, people out there that are FPs. For me personally, I use a financial planner for insurances, superannuation, and potentially shares. Yeah. So for the financial planners, that's what typically they would be used for in my realm. When it comes to the household and understanding just your day-to-day life, money, budgeting, and so forth, that's where I specialize in, because the financial planner, so my SMP is save, make, protect. Yeah. So the first one is save. You need to figure out what you can best do right now to improve your financial position. Yeah. So if that's saving money, which ultimately gives you more savings, which is making you money. Yeah. That's where we want to be at. So that might be a combination of sorting out what other debts you've currently got, making whatever you've got right now is the best it possibly can be, giving you a beeline. And more times than not with my clients, they're going to start making more money because they're saving more money. The next natural progression, once all that is sorted out, is that's when we look to make more money. That's when we want to start making money towards our retirement, buying investments, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But the last one is P, being protect. You guys have to have insurance, because obviously you got your PI, your professional indemnity, you've got all that type of insurance. You have to have it. No, it would be crazy to not have that insurance, in your realm. The same for your own personal life. Why do we insure our cars? If the worst was to happen.
Just in case.
Just in case, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing is but the biggest asset in your life right now, which is why health is important, is your ability to earn money. If I can't go to work and if I can't make money, what happens to the rest of the stuff we've got going on in life?
Crazy.
It falls apart because you don't have anything in place unless we protect ourselves, which is why do we go into an FP and we make sure that we protect ourselves with, income protection, life insurance, total permanent disability, whatever it may be. Yeah. We go to an accountant not to budget. They might help us with cash flows with our business, but they don't necessarily teach us how to budget.
No, they don't.
Correct, right? So they're there to show us how to save tax. They're there to maybe head up our business, our trust, whatever their realm is. Again, I said the term before, a jack of all trades is a master of none.
Yeah.
I specialize in one particular arena, or two really, which is saving people money, getting the best of what they can do with what they've currently got, mortgages, all that type of stuff, right? When it comes to the make thing, if people want to buy investment properties, I will assist them with that because that's also a specialty. But if they want shares, I'm going to send them to maybe an FP who has a specialist in shares. If they want managed funds, maybe to a different FP. So there's always a jack of all trades is a master of none. So if you go to an FP and they start talking to you about mortgages, they're probably not qualified to do that. So maybe that's not the right thing, but also just make sure you go to the right person for the right advice.
Cool. And how... Is there, just before we round this out, is there any way to know the difference between a good accountant and is there anything that people just off the top of your head, like one or two sort of things that people should look out for from a good one or a red flags?
Sure. As I mentioned before, a proactive accountant. So if you're sitting down with your accountant and you're giving them your stuff, if all they're coming back to you with is, all right, based on what you've got, this is how much we can save you. right? That any accountant can do that. You could probably go to the local one at your local mall that has one of those little pop-up things, and you could probably get that. A proactive accountant will have a look at what you have and say, okay, this is how much you can save, or this is what's going to happen on this, how much you have to pay in your bus, all that type of stuff. But then they'll go on to ask questions like, what are you wanting to achieve? Like, what's your goals? What's your fight? What are you wanting to? How are you wanting to grow the business? And they will proactively be able to give you the advice as to the steps that you need to take to be able to make that happen. Awesome. So, giving you the advice up front, so that way you can go forth with the knowledge, saying, you know what, I really want up my accountant said I've got a 5-year-old lease on my car, yeah, and I could go upgrade another one, and and most accountants will say, oh, well, to save tax, you can go, upgrade your car. Well, sure, that may happen. But if you go upgrade that car and you get this whole new $50,000 car loan, all of a sudden when you want to go get your next home loan or your first home loan for that instance, you might find that car's going to kill you from getting a home loan.
All because they didn't ask enough questions about where you wanted to go.
Correct. Right. Because those type of loans can kill your borrowing capacity with your own home loan, right? So, and I'm not saying that don't go out and kill your accountant if they're not asking these type of questions, but that's the type of things that I would ask. So I'm not an accountant, but I want to find out what your scope is and say, like, you want to buy your first home. Okay, well, you're self-employed. Let me have a look at what your profit and loss is. Let me see what other things you've got going in there. Like, I've got 12 grand on gym equipment. I've got this type of loan here. I've got this type of overdraft. I've got a brand new car, all that type of stuff. And I'm like, right. Well, why have you done that? Well, to save tax, to have new shiny things, whatever it may be. All right, well, cool. This is when you need to make that mental decision of, do you want a home or do you want the fancy stuff in your business? And don't get me wrong, the fancy stuff might attract new clients and that's what you may need for your business. But at the same token, that's when you need to decide moving forth, what is more important to you? Do you honestly need the brand new shiny equipment, or can you handle having the same stuff? Because really, as I don't know about you, but I work in a gym which is like 50 years old. Those dumbbells are covered in rust and all that type of stuff. And yet, some of the fittest people have come out of that gym.
I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, right.
What gym is that?
It's a world gym. Old school gym. Yeah.
Because there's another one on the Gold Coast Highway just up here in Miami or
something. Just around here. Yeah. I used to get that one for years.
That is old school. That's like where Ronnie Coleman used to sort of style that. So the things to look out for a good account, obviously being proactive. That's the thing. Now, something that you mentioned there, the accountant doesn't do your budget though. That if you go, because that was the mistake when I first started out in business 7 or so years ago. I thought they were going to do all of that sort of stuff, and then it was a bit miffed, and then sort of left to my own devices. Like they were only just ticking boxes. Like, okay, I just did. Here's your expenses. Here's this. Where does someone go to get help on budget?
Oh, well, that's a good question.
This guy. I didn't mean it to set it up. I didn't mean to lay it up like that. But obviously, if people want to know more about you, because that's primarily what you do. That's one of your core things.
One of the
core things that you do is help people budget.
Save. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, look, classic term and another analogy is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it
drink.
Right. So when I came out of the investment realm, trying to make people money. That realm is a little bit dark. There's a part of it, or a lot of it, I should say, that unfortunately people are just trying to sell investment properties, flog them off, and that's their core, right? And I say this with respect, it's all about, they're saying, trying to build wealth for retirement, and absolutely that is 100% correct. But at the same thing, when it comes to people, if they want to hold investments or have all this other debt, they need to make sure that everything that they've got going on at home is on point. Because if you're going to start adding these other big debts that come along with home loans or margin loans for shares or whatever it may be, you want to make sure that you've got some money in for rainy days in case things go wrong, or you lose your job or whatever may happen, right? So when I came out of that realm, I just wanted to give back. So on my Facebook page, Save, Make, Protect, you can go to the videos playlist, go to the budgeting section.
And it's all free, by the way.
Yeah. You can literally learn the best way to budget. I do a weekly budget, as I say in the videos, only fill in the categories that I put down, It covers everything, but only fill in the categories that I pop down.
And if you're in another country, this still applies, right?
Budget's your budget.
But budgeting is budgeting.
Budgeting is budgeting, that's right. Cash flow structures, which is at the end of that budgeting playlist, will be slightly different because some countries won't have the home loan products that are available in Australia, but budgeting is budgeting. So you can head along to that and again, lead the horse to water. So this is where I talk about it and I say, you need to, first of all, we need to understand our budget.
Yeah.
Right, so what's in our weekly budget? What's in our monthly living expenses? There are over 2 videos. Then we need to structure it. So once we have that, what's the best way to structure those things so we can maximize either our savings or we can maximize interest savings by having a home loan and so forth. The next one is control. Now, I have to be upfront. I reserve that control because it's kind of like using the words of Morpheus from the Matrix. The only way that you can see it, the only way you can understand it is to see it for yourself. Yep. So when it comes to control, yes, I've already mentioned that we use My Prosperity, but a software is only as good as the user. I don't allow my clients to use, there's a free version of My Prosperity as well if you want to use it, but the paid for version of My Prosperity, there is a cost to that. And so what that'll do is that I actually live track, it's like Xero, it's going to live track your...
But you help manage
that? Yeah, help structure it, set up. And I also have a team of people who...
Cool.
We'll move into that, but the control side of things is I have a team of people. We call them budgeteers, right?
Hey.
A budget for all for budgets and budgets for all. It's corny as hell, but people remember it.
I love that.
No, so
cool.
They're called budgeteers, and each person gets assigned a budgeteer. And essentially, what will happen is that budgeteer will monitor the My Prosperity, like a bookkeeper will monitor your Xero or have access to it. You can have a range of people that are as trusted advisors through My Prosperity. So you might have your accountant linked up, which is great for your business. So what will happen is your accountant will be able to see your business accounts, what's been doing, like your Xero. You can link it up to Xero, things like that, where your accounts anyway. You can have your financial planner, you can have me, you can have your budgeteer, you can have all these people linked up to My Prosperity to use it in the way that they need it for their trade, right? Jack of all trades is most.
Which is great because that's all data, that's all tracking, and it's stuff that used to be a punish. For me, I know when the accountant would be like, hey, can you just send me through these bank statements, or can you just send me through these things, or can you just send me... That's all taken care of by the sounds of it.
Correct. That's exactly right.
They can see that. They don't have to ask you, and they can do what they need to do without, adding that extra pressure and stress on trying to find a statement from fucking 3 years ago.
And guess what? It saves you time and it saves you money by doing that, yeah? And so the control part is the budgeteers, and even I'm part of this process as well. Not one single one of my clients does not talk to me. They always go for me. I want to make sure that I tick every single name of my clients. Now, it doesn't matter how busy I am, it doesn't matter how many clients that we have, I will always put my hand on heart and say that I will look at that file, or I'm talking to that individual and the first forefront, because I want to make sure that the people, my name and what I'm trying to preach is that it is right for the client. And if it's not right for you, I'm going to tell you that's the way, but everybody should be budgeting. Everybody should be saving money. Everybody should be doing something in their lives to create more money, make more money for retirement. And everybody should be protecting themselves because you work damn hard for your money. You hustle. You're on the hustling grind.
Yeah, like 4 a.m. wake ups, going home at 8, 9 o'clock at night. So if you got kids, you don't see them wake up. You don't see them go to bed. I've lived and breathed that. And so are you guys. So you got to be able to make those sacrifices for a reason.
Absolutely, 100%. And so protect yourself in doing it.
Yeah, totally.
So the control part is it's more of a conversation with people, but it's basically having the personal trainer to ensure that they check everything, analysis, they speak to you on a weekly basis, they report to you on a monthly basis. The other good news is that although there's a fee involved with what we do, if we can't, it's well less than what I'm about to say here, but if we can't save you $10,000 in the first year, we refund you all those fees anyway. And it's a smidgen of that. The fee that we charge is a drop in the ocean compared to that 10,000. So you're going to save a whole lot more than your investment, as you mentioned before, but we guarantee that. So if you don't save 10 grand, we're going to refund you the fees for 12 months anyway. And it's a month by month, so they're not even locked in for 12 months. But it just gives them that peace of mind and that security to know that if they go through the budgeting cycle through us, they're going to save more money. We're going to get them into that home.
Amazing. I love that. So if people want to find out, obviously more, you mentioned earlier, they can go just to your free stuff on your Facebook page, which is Save, Make, Protect.
Yep.
The 3 words. They're all separate, or is it run together?
You can do it either way. It's facebook.com/all together, or type it in. There's enough tags on there to see me. Or head to the website, savemakeprotect.com.au.
Okay, savemakeprotect.com.au. Awesome. So I'm actually going to hit you up once we go off and talk more about my stuff. So this is the rapid fire. This is the rapid fire round. This is the fun stuff that I like to do here. So we're going to have 4 questions, just rapid fire, just some fun stuff that's not necessarily business related stuff.
Right.
You ready?
Okay, yeah.
I'm nervous. Okay. One thing that you can't live without.
My daughter.
Ooh. Favorite TV show of all time.
Of all time, David Attenborough. Anything David Attenborough.
Oh,
Doctors,
wow.
yeah.
Okay. Favorite book or a book that you're currently reading?
Ooh, definitely. Now I've forgotten the name of it.
I asked him.
Now I've just lost it.
Okay.
I'll come back to me on
Okay.
that.
What about a budgeting or finance?
Sorry. No, it's not budgeting and finance. It's The Alchemist. It's The Alchemist by Sam Paulo. I think that's.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah, great.
Another one.
It's probably one of my favorites. I've read it probably more times than it.
Wow. And your favorite dad joke?
Favorite dad joke. What do you call a constipated German?
What?
Far from pooping.
Blair, it's been a pleasure having you on, my man.
Thanks,
everyone, if you've stuck with us all the way through, I hope you got some value out of that. I'll put the links to his stuff in the comments of the podcast if you're on, and if you're on Facebook Live, I'll put it on the comments on here. But again, if you want to find out a bit more about what I do, that's iwantgymleads.com. That's if you're serious about growing your business, about doing the make part of the Save, Make, Protect, so you can get more leads, more clients, grow your brand all at the same time, but you're delegating that to me. And so that way I can give you back more time, so that way you can grow and focus on what you do best, which is being in the gym with your clients, or giving you more time to be home with your friends and family. So that's iwantgymleads.com. Go over there, schedule a time to talk, and we can talk about how we can do just that. Blair, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks very much.
Peace out, everybody.